Who should you root for this weekend? An injury update with banged up Bills and my 5 predictions for Sunday are all coming your way today on Locked On Bills.
You are Locked On Bills, your daily Buffalo Bills podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Bills Mafia? It's Joe Marino, author of Go Bills and Buffalo's Run, also the co-host of the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast, and I'm your host of Locked On Bills. Want to thank you for making Locked On Bills your first listen every day, and a big welcome and shout out to our everydayers. You know who you are. Those of you who never miss a single episode, I appreciate y'all being here very, very much. I'd also like to invite you to subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates that you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Well, folks, this will be the last conversation that we have before the Bills face the Cowboys on Sunday. Obviously, a big game. There's only 4 games left for every team this season, so the playoff races are hot. And so we're going to start this conversation talking about the playoff race for the Buffalo Bills, both within the AFC and the AFC East. I want to make a note here on Dalton Kincaid. He's got some records that he's close to breaking. So I want to talk about that. We'll get to Dr. Kyle Trimble on the injuries, and then, of course, we'll close with my 5 predictions for Sunday. But let's start with a little snapshot of the AFC and where the Bills are and what we should be rooting for this weekend. And the Bills, as you know, are 7-6. They're the number 2 team in the AFC East behind the 9-4 Miami Dolphins. They're the number 11 seed in the AFC, keeping in mind that the 6 through 11 seeds, all of those teams are all 7-6. And then you have the Browns at 8-5, who are the current 5 seed. And then, of course, your 4 current division leaders. So you have a path to a wild card spot and you have a path to the division. I think the Bills' path to the division is more clear than their path to the wild card, especially when you consider the tiebreakers that the Bills don't have. And so I'm mostly focused in on the division. I'm certainly mindful of the wild card. The division is what I think is the most easy to obtain, and the path is the most clear. Obviously, after the Dolphins lost to the Titans, that door has been opened. And so let's talk about that real quick. I think the best way to look at it is that the Miami Dolphins' magic number is 3. Any combination of 3 Dolphins wins and Bills losses, and they have the division clinched prior to Week 18 when the Bills and Dolphins play in Miami. And so our entire objective here is to get to Week 18 with a win and the division is yours scenario. Well, the magic number for Miami is 3. Any combination of Dolphins wins and Bills losses over the next 3 games, that equals 3, and that's a wrap on the division. However, I think that there's a good chance that the Dolphins lose a game or 2. Step 1 for the Bills is winning their next 3 games. You beat Dallas, the Chargers, the Patriots. You do that, you're going to be in business. So you do that and the Dolphins lose 1 game, and you're going to be playing for the division in Week 18. It's that simple. The Bills win the next 3. The Dolphins lose 1. And the winner of Week 18 wins the AFC East and hosts at least 1 playoff game. The Bills can lose 1 game and still have that opportunity. Now, they'll need Miami to lose twice. So if the Bills lose 1 of their next 3 games, they need Miami to drop 2 of them, and then Week 18 is still for the division. Now, remember, Miami's path. They have the Jets in Miami this week. Next week, they host Dallas, and then they play at Baltimore before hosting the Bills. Those are losable games for Miami. Perhaps they take care of the Jets. They still have to deal with Dallas and Baltimore. You need them to lose 1 of them. You need to win 3. Or you need to win 2 of your next 3, and you need the Dolphins to lose 2 of them. All possible, right? So that's what we're thinking about through the lens of the division. Now, as for the AFC wildcard spots, these are the outcomes that would be best for the Bills in that scenario. Of course, first of all, the Bills beating Dallas. That's the number one thing that we need to happen this weekend. Number two, it would be great for the Jets to beat the Dolphins. Go Zach Wilson. Do your thing, bud. I mean, it's supposed to be some crazy weather perhaps for that game. We'll see what happens. They beat Houston by a bunch last weekend, and they're a better team with Zach Wilson. The Titans beating Houston would be helpful. C.J. Stroud, the Texans quarterback, is out for that game. The Titans obviously coming off of a big win over Miami. The Vikings beating the Bengals, that would be helpful. Got a couple of backup quarterbacks there. Jake Browning against Nick Mullins, the third quarterback for Minnesota this year. The Lions beating the Browns, the Lions beating the Broncos, that would be helpful. The Bears beating the Browns would be helpful. The Patriots beating the Chiefs would be helpful. And then for the other games that have consequence, I can be convinced either way on Ravens and Jaguars, which one would be more helpful in terms of who would win that game. You'd love for the Jaguars, I guess, to run away with the South because you don't have the division, you don't have the tiebreaker there. But if they really fall on their face, that'd be nice. But then, of course, there's both sides of the coin there. So I'm not exactly sure what result in that game would be best for the Bills. And then Colts versus Steelers is the other game. And for that one, they have identical records. They have identical AFC records. I think I'm just going to be happy that somebody's going to lose that game. But the primary stuff, Bills over Cowboys, Jets over Dolphins, Titans over Texans, Vikings over Bengals, Lions over Broncos, Bears over Browns, Patriots over Chiefs. I think those are the most important games for us to be paying attention to this week. Of course, Bills, Jets, those are the big ones. That's what we really want. The Bills beat Dallas and the Jets beat Miami. You just have to beat the Chargers and Patriots, and you're playing for the division in week 18. So there you go. There's that piece of it. A couple other notes here. Justin Shorter, the Bills' 5th-round wide receiver, rookie. They've opened his 21-day window to practice so that he'll get 3 weeks of practice, and then the Bills will have the opportunity to either activate him to the active roster or he'll miss the rest of the season. I think it's more likely, barring an injury, that they give him 3 weeks of practice and then say, we'll try again next year. I know that there's some Justin Shorter fans out there. I thought he was super rigid in preseason and needs a lot of work to be a meaningful player for the Bills. I mean, even the special team stuff in the preseason was where I became most concerned. But they'll have a 3-week window to kind of see where he's at and make a decision there. And then Dalton Kincaid has a chance to break some records here that I expect to happen perhaps as early as Sunday. So 2 records. The first being the rookie reception record for the Buffalo Bills. Sammy Watkins currently holds that record with 65 catches. Dalton Kincaid at 61. So he needs 4 to tie, 5 to break that. And then to break the Bills' single-season tight end reception record, Pete Metzelaars currently holds that record at 68 receptions. Dalton Kincaid not far behind at 61. So those are all within striking distance this week and probably no later than next week to check those boxes. So those will be fun milestones for Dalton Kincaid to achieve as he's had a very strong rookie season. All right, folks, we're talking injuries here in just a moment. Then, of course, my 5 predictions for Sunday. So stick with me. But whether you're hiring for your small business, you got to make sure that you have as many top-tier candidates available as possible. And that is why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion, that's a billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats right now, and they might not have the time or the resources to hire. Thankfully, with LinkedIn, the process is intuitive, quick, and easy. They even just launched a feature that helps you write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNFL to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I'm joined now by Kyle Trimble. He's a doctor of physical therapy. He runs bangedupbills.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Banged Up Bills. He joins us each week to get us ready for the upcoming Bills game from an injury perspective, and we got a few things to dive into. A couple players ruled out. Let's start with Micah Hyde, Bills starting safety, out, neck injury. Kind of concerning, right? It felt like maybe he lost some feeling in his arm 2 different times in the game. Micah Hyde, neck injuries. We don't like any of that. What's going on with Micah Hyde?
So Hyde has suffered his 3rd stinger in the past 6 weeks. This is obviously a big concern because he had the neck surgery that knocked him out of all last season. And so anytime you see a stinger, you suddenly start wondering if there's more underlying issues like we saw last year. As for what's causing stingers, we're seeing him hit more in the left shoulder area, and that's where all the area has been affected by with the stingers. Though his most recent hit that sent him out of the game on Sunday was due to him getting hit backwards and his head turning to the left violently. So that was more concerning as it came more from the neck there, but that can still certainly stress the brachial plexus, which comes off the cervical spine and cause that stinger sensation. So if he had any issue from the actual fusion area last year, he'd be done. They'd be pulling him out and say, nope, you're done playing. So either the small chance that it could be from another level where he's having some issues, which can happen with fusions. The area above and below the fusion can take extra stress because the fusion area no longer has that mobility. But more likely, the chances are that the stingers are coming from more of the brachial plexus due to the shoulder hits. The area is already irritated. And then every time he takes another hit to the area, it further causes more issues. So it's unfortunate, but he took the same path this week with regards to not practicing all week like he did with his 2nd stinger. And that's a smart approach here because they want to make sure things get calmed down in there so he's not having more stingers withering on the ground in pain and then missing key snaps, especially as the playoffs approach there.
Here's my question. Is it a matter of him taking some time off, resting, and he's going to be okay? Or is this just going to be a perpetual thing that anytime that he takes a hit like that, we're going to be nervous holding our breath? Does rest actually fix the problem here?
Rest will help fix the problem as there's just inflammation in there. Everything's kind of irritated and just angry. So rest does help take care of things there. A good comparable is Roger Saffold. He dealt with a similar injury his last year, Tennessee, before he came up to Buffalo last year. He just kept on taking hits to the area. It would never really get any better. I posted up on my timeline and on my article that's either coming out or I put it in my previous article. But anyway, he talked about how it just kept on getting hit to the area and just causing this repeated stingers there. He didn't have any issues last year. So that's where I'm thinking that it's more lines down in the shoulder area. He just needs that rest and get away from things, and then he should be fine moving forward there. Of course, that's all speculation, but based off what we're seeing, how he's hitting, that leads me to believe he's suffering more of the irritation, and that rest would help him out. But unfortunately, they don't have that luxury right now.
AJ Epinesa, Bills defensive end, also out for Sunday with a rib injury. Obviously, huge play against the Chiefs, intercepts a pass, and then he says that'll be all right. Gonna take an injury there and gonna be out for at least this game. What's the issue here, and how long could this linger?
So the key thing was Epinesa, he got the interception, and unfortunately, he had one of the Chiefs' offensive linemen basically belly flop on him as he was trying to tackle him. So he initially left the game and was questionable with ribs designation. He did come back for one play and tried to bend around the edge, kind of got twisted down. And then you see him get up and grab the left lower side of his trunk, abdomen area as he motioned to come off there, and then did not return, though he was doubtful. And then they later said that he was week to week the next day when they did the follow-up press conference. That tells me that's more of a rib cartilage issue. The only reason I think it's rib cartilage issues because rib cartilage is slower to heal. That's that more lower rib area where you see it is cartilage, like I said, but it's more lower in the abdomen. Like if you start palpating on the left side versus right side and whatnot, versus if you get more up toward the sternum, which is more of the actual rib area, and it's harder to break there. So if he did have a rib fracture, they could numb up that area through injections, get some padding on there. You're good to go and play. We saw that with Cole Beasley and other players in the past to play through his rib injuries. But the rib cartilage, you can't numb up as well. And even though proper protection, it's still going to hurt very, very much if you get hit that area. So we know through research and just past observations that this rib cartilage is slow to heal. He's probably looking at missing easily this game, which we know he's out, easily next game, and potentially a third game. They were talking about injury reserve at one point for him, though I don't know that they're going to do that unless they make that decision on Saturday. So I don't believe this is severe enough for a injured reserve designation, but he's going to be out for at least the next 2 weeks and potentially more.
Well, hopefully he's back ready to go for Miami in Week 18, a team that he typically has some pretty good success against. And obviously, again, the Bills will need to win if things go the way that we hope they do over the next 3. That's it in terms of players on the Bills' active roster with an injury designation. But I do want to at least ask you a question about Dalton Kincaid. I know he had at least one practice this week with the red jersey on, thumb, shoulder. What do we got here? Are we concerned?
Not too concerned. I don't know what happened with a thumb injury. He suffered it sometime against Philadelphia, and he popped up on the injury report last week and was practicing full. And as for the shoulder injury, right before the 2-minute warning in the fourth quarter, he caught a 2-yard pass from Josh Allen and came down pretty hard on right shoulder. Didn't really have a chance to even brace himself. It looked like an AC joint sprain. It kind of presented like that even after the game. And he said it was just a football collision. What was interesting, though, in the Monday press conference, they had said that this was a re-aggravation of a shoulder injury before. The only instance I could find from a right shoulder injury prior was back in September. I think it was week 3 or week 4. He got lit up in the end zone and he was able to return, but I don't even recall if he was even on the injury report for shoulder after that, but that's the only time I can find where he aggravated. So unless he had a later shoulder injury, which he was playing through, we weren't aware of, then I'm not too concerned about him playing on Sunday. It just give it protection, injection, and make sure he avoids some of those big hits again.
Let's focus on the Dallas Cowboys the rest of the way here. Jonathan Hankins, their starting nose tackle, best run stopping interior defensive lineman. He's out with an ankle injury. They have a couple of players that are questionable, and they're important players. Brandin Cooks, starting receiver, Stephon Gilmore, their number 1 corner. They didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday with an illness. They have a game day designation of questionable. I think we would expect on Sunday they're going to be ready to go for the game. But the player of concern for me that's interesting is Malik Hooker, their starting safety. Really good one-high safety, allows them to be aggressive with how they cover, with how they rush, because they know they have him as a deep ball defender. He's very good at that. He's got a designation as questionable. Didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Limited on Friday. What do you have for us on Malik Hooker?
So Hooker's injury was actually, I don't want to say difficult to find, but if you look at the Dallas injury report, he's sandwiched right in the middle between all the illnesses and rest. You almost miss him. Yeah. And so you actually texted me before the show and said, what's going on with him? And I found the injury. What happened was on a tush-push play late in the third quarter, he kind of got hit up underneath the pile of the tush-push and was slow to get up, finished out the series, and then on the next series came back with his right ankle heavily taped. So based on how he fell, it's hard to say whether he suffered a high ankle sprain or whether he just got the ankle rolled up on because of that pile of bodies. You can't exactly see what happened in there. But he wasn't moving around very well, and he did have, I believe, a fumble recovery late in the game, and he tried to get up and running. He was just kind of limping through the rest of the game. So it's hard to say whether he's going to play or not based off how their swelling and pain and everything else comes off with that. I'm anticipating that the Wednesday, Thursday practices were allowing him to maximize his rest, tested out on on Friday. And then from the reports I've seen from the Dallas beat reporters, they're optimistic he could play. So I'm going to go with what they say because they're seeing him in practice. But going off of the tush push, we did see early in the week, I believe it was Albert Breer said this is one of the plays that the Health and Safety Committee wants to look at potentially banning. We see these kind of injuries and then some, so it's not surprising they want to look at that from a safety standpoint so guys aren't getting hurt and potentially missing extended time.
Well, that'll be something to pay attention to. Maybe he'll go. Maybe there'll be some limitations there, but that seems to be the player of consequence. But also, like Brandin Cooks, Stephon Gilmore didn't practice this week. Malik Hooker, very limited practice. I think at least through that lens, it's probably helpful for the Bills as they gear up for a very important game on Sunday, and then a fairly quick turnaround. A Saturday game in Los Angeles is the next one. 6 days of rest. The Chargers have already played their Week 15 game, so they have 9 games of rest. So a little bit of a dynamic to be mindful of for the Bills and their next opponent. But obviously, the focus is on the Dallas Cowboys, and we always appreciate you coming on, Dr. Kyle Trimble, and offering your expertise. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. This time of year can be challenging for some people, and it's natural to feel some sadness or even anxiety about it. But adding something new and positive to your life can help counteract some of those feelings. Therapy can be a bright spot amid all of the stress and change, something to look forward to help you feel grounded and give you the tools needed to manage everything that's going on. It's helpful for learning positive coping skills and how to set boundaries. It empowers you to be the best version of yourself. It isn't just for people who have experienced major trauma. So if you've been thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. All you do is fill out a brief questionnaire. That'll get you matched with a licensed therapist. And if you ever need to, you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. So find your bright spot this season with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. All right, folks, it is prediction time here on the podcast. But before we get there, I would love to invite you to join the Locked On Bills subtext community. We've been doing it all year. It's been super fun. Here's what you get. You get my live in-game text. So when I'm watching Bills Cowboys on Sunday, I'm going to be sending text messages pretty much after every drive, letting you know what I'm thinking, what I'm seeing. It's super fun. People have enjoyed that. You also get my first reaction to all major Bills news, plus one-on-one text messaging with me. So we could talk Bills football all week long. I'm just a text message away. You also get access to our Discord channel. This is what's been awesome. So if you get into the subtext, you get access to the Discord. And Discord is like this big group chat where we can talk. We have different channels within the group chat where we talk Bills, we talk Sabres, we talk general NFL, NFL draft, fitness, all kinds of cool stuff in there. Plus, that's where I drop my all 22 film clips. So when I'm studying the tape on Monday, I send out clips, 20, 30 clips of the game, kind of talking through things that I'm seeing that really complement our all 22 review episode. So that's pretty cool to check that out. Now, also, if you want to join, there's a link in today's show notes. So if you're on YouTube, wherever you're listening to this podcast, there's a link in our show notes that you can join the subtext community. Now, I understand that our international audience cannot join subtext. They don't have that figured out yet. But I do have it figured out how you can be part of our Discord channel. And so send me an email if you'd like to join the Discord. So if you're an international fan and you can't join the subtext, or if you're just a fan that doesn't want to be in the subtext but wants to be in the Discord, hit me up. I have a way for you to do that. Send me an email, joemarino65@gmail.com, and we will get you access for the same cost as the people that are in through subtext. All right, so what are my predictions? I got 5 of them for you here. Number 1, I predict that the Cowboys score under 30 points. And maybe that doesn't seem so impressive to you. Like, oh, wow, Joe, you don't think they're going to get to 30. Well, they're on this hot streak, right? A 5-game win streak where they're averaging 40 points per game, 40.2 points per game over the last 5. The lowest they've scored in that stretch is 33. I don't think they get to 30 against the Bills. I have a lot of respect for them and their offense, but I think the Bills will do enough to limit them under 30 points. So, and they average more than that for the season. So I'm predicting them to come under their season average and well under what they've averaged over the last 5 games, which they've all won. Number 2, I am predicting that Dak Prescott throws an interception. Not something he's done a lot of this year. Only 1 interception in the last 6 games, none in the last 4. And we know the Bills haven't been super great at picking off the ball, right? So pretty aggressive one here. I think it's just law of averages. His interception totals are really low. I think he's had some good fortune there. And I think somehow in this game, a tip pass, somebody breaking on a ball, I think the Bills come away with an interception on Sunday against Dak Prescott. My next 2 are going to be FanDuel props. So if you like these 2, you can go over to FanDuel and get in on this action. But this next one, Stefon Diggs, they have his over-under for receiving yards set at 66.5, smashing the over here. And look, it hasn't been good production-wise for Stefon Diggs over the last several games. Over his last 4 games, he's only went over 66.5 receiving yards 1 time. But I think there's going to be some urgency here to kind of get back to your bread and butter, throwing the ball to Stefon Diggs, something the Bills have been great at through the years. And Diggs is not hurt or anything like that. I think they're going to find ways to get 14 the ball. I think he has a big game. And, I didn't want to get too crazy and say like 120 yards and multiple touchdowns, but man, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm expecting a big game from Steph Diggs on Sunday. So my way to, quantify that is going to be smashing the over on FanDuel where they have him at 66.5 receiving yards. The other over that I'm going to ride this week for the Bills on FanDuel is James Cook. Once again, they have his over-under at 22.5 receiving yards. Last week it was 19.5, so they went up a little bit. But I think he's going to get it again. I think this is going to be an important game for James Cook to have a role, particularly in the passing game. You have a really good Cowboys pass rush. They like to blitz. I think getting the ball to James Cook is going to help you slow some of that down. So give me over on 22.5 receiving yards. Keeping in mind, Dallas's defense has been great at limiting running back production through the passing game. They've given up the second fewest receptions to running backs this season. I think James Cook tops 22.5 receiving yards. And then lastly, do I think the Bills win this game? Put me down for a Bills win. Tough game. We talked all about it this week. We've thoroughly broken down the Dallas Cowboys. I have a lot of respect for this football team. But I just kind of buy into the Bills right now. I think Josh Allen's playing well. You know, their feet are to the fire. They have the opportunity to win this division, something that didn't feel like would be on the table based on the way that the season has gone and the hole that the Bills have dug themselves into. Well, they look like they're primed to dig themselves out of it. And this is the big one. If you win this game, you feel like you should be able to beat the Chargers and Patriots. You feel like you should. Not that there's anything's a formality in the NFL. You got to go do it. You got to go prepare. Everything has to you got, you know, don't take anything for granted in the NFL. But if you feel like you get past this one, you're going to be in good shape to play for the division in Week 18. And so the Bills at home, they're a better team at home. Dallas is a better team at home. Well, guess what? They're coming to Western New York. And so I feel like the Bills check this box. I don't know if it's going to be a pretty win. I have no idea what it's going to look like. But I think when the clock hits all zeros, the Bills will have more points than the Dallas Cowboys. So put me down for a Bills win. So my predictions, Cowboys under 30 points. Dak throws a pick. Stefon Diggs over 66.5 receiving yards. James Cook over 22.5 receiving yards. And the Bills win. All right, folks. We've done all we can in this podcast. Now the Bills got to go win this game. Plenty of coverage still coming your way here. As always, it's a daily podcast, so that's always going to be true. But immediately after, you know what we're going to do. Bleacher Report, live, instant reaction. And then, of course, a full week of content to get us ready for, well, to reflect on Bills Cowboys, but also get us ready for Bills Chargers, a Saturday game next week. So could be some interesting programming. Keep your head on a swivel. We'll be talking about everything, as you know, here on Locked On Bills. So enjoy your weekend. Go Bills, go Jets, go Titans, go Vikings, go Lions, go Bears, go Patriots. And I'm surely hoping for a victory Monday. Enjoy, everyone. We'll catch up with you again after the game.